All right. Hey, this is Brent Leary back again, LinkedIn Live. I like being on LinkedIn Live. It's kind of cool. I'm still trying to work out the kinks, trying to get used to certain things, but at least I always get good people to talk to when I do these things. So it's good to have Rick McCutcheon here, who is like the Microsoft Dynamics 365 CRM MVP guru, tied into the whole network, the ecosystem there, and he does that even while he's above the border in Canada. Hey, Rick, thanks for joining me, man.
Hi, Brent. How's it going?
It's going good down here, and you say it's summertime up there, and it only lasts for what, a month or something.
Oh, well, we're in Toronto. It's not too bad. We've got about the same climate as Detroit and Buffalo, so
Okay.
we'll last a couple more weeks. But we know what's at the end of this. It's cold, going to get cold again.
Hey, Rick, if I could ask you to scooch over a little to your right, just so. All right, now you're perfectly in the.
All right.
Is that you got the Buffalo Bill blue shirt? Is that what's going on here?
No, this is my company logo, Full Contact Selling. Actually, I grew up outside of Detroit, so unfortunately, I'm a Detroit Lions fan, and there's nothing I can do about it. So,
Hey,
but
I'm okay.
it could be the year.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm glad that I'm glad you were a Detroit Lions fan, because it just means that you are not a New England Patriots fan. So,
Oh no, not a chance.
because this show would be really short if that
All right.
was the case. But okay, so uh, I kind of already laid out a little bit about what you do. You have full contact selling. You're like you're the chair of the big user group over Dynamics 365 in Canada. But give us a little bit more.
Well, I've been in the CRM space for 25 years or so. We started back in the old ACT days, contact management, and we kind of rode that through, developed some of our own technology. It was bought out. And then when Microsoft came out with Dynamics, I said, that sounds like a pretty good product to get involved with. So I've been involved with Microsoft Dynamics since CRM since 1.0.
Wow.
So, we're up to 2019 now, we can say, with our version, because everything's online. So it's come a long way, and there's lots of exciting things happening in this sort of Microsoft ecosystem. So it's a pretty good place to be. From a practice, I have an interesting practice because I kind of break it into a couple of portions. I work with what they call ISV partners, people who want to build technology for Dynamics. So I do some coaching in that space, helping them get their products into the market and customize the right way for Dynamics. And then I do a lot of CRM planning, and that's what I do at your show, CRM Evolution. I do a session on CRM planning. So I go into a lot of usually mid-sized, bigger corporations and help them strategically figure out how they want to use Dynamics 365 customer engagement, which is what we now call the CRM product.
I joke, but it's almost sort of like half jokingly when I say this. It's like, I think you know more about Dynamics 365 and the ecosystem and the partners than most employees at Microsoft. But
well, it's interesting because Dynamics is 10% of Microsoft. So there's a lot of Microsoft people walking on this earth that are, they know a lot about what they know a lot about, but sometimes the business applications, they don't know as much about it. And I've been there historically right through the whole thing. So it's a pretty neat place to be. And this MVP designation that I have, there's only 85 of us in the world for customer engagement.
okay.
So we get to see everything that the product group is bringing out, all the, the alpha code and everything else they're writing every year. They haul us down to Redmond for that. So we see a lot of things before actually a lot of the Microsoft field people do.
All right. So I bet a lot of people don't know this, but I actually, back in 2003, me and my then business partner, Michael Thomas, we actually got certified on, it was just Microsoft CRM back then.
Yes.
1.0. And I tell you, I'm so glad it's come as long a way as it has.
Well, I laugh at the younger people coming into the space who came in like at, version 2013 and things like that. And I go, you have no idea how difficult it was in the early years. And sort of us veterans, we kind of stuck with it. There's only really a handful of us around now, but we have a good laugh when we get together at the conferences.
I'm glad it's a good laugh instead of a good cry, which is probably what it used to be back in the day.
Well, we had some difficulties, but we were there to help the customer.
They all did. Honestly, they all did back in the day. So
Yeah.
everybody's come a far away, but this has really come a far away. So you mentioned that that Dynamics is what 10% of the overall Microsoft kind of stream in terms of the business applications. What's the perspective today as opposed to back in the day when it comes to the application side of the house from a Microsoft perspective? How does Microsoft view business apps today as opposed to back in the day?
Well, we're lucky. Satya came out of the business apps group, so he knows all about our business, and he knows why we're there and what we do and the important part we play in this dynamic ecosystem. But there's something happening that a lot of people are aware of, and it's the Power Platform. So underneath dynamic, so we got to break dynamics into some different pieces. So we've got kind of the ERP side of the house and the CRM side. So on the ERP, we had historical products like Great Plains, Navision, and AX. Microsoft has, brought two of those products to the cloud. AX is now F&O for the cloud, and Nav is now Business Central for the cloud. So they moved those two over, and CRM has become customer engagement. Well, underneath customer engagement, we had this low-code development tool called XRM. So for years in our space, we heard people talking about XRM. Well, when the new team kind of took over, some AX people took over Dynamics a couple of years ago, they said, you know what, we need this low-code product right across the Microsoft platform. And they migrated this XRM into what they call now CDS, Common Data Service. And that Common Data Service is the underlying technology now in Dynamics, but also the Power Platform. So this is opening the doors wide open for our business application group, because traditionally the CRM guys that work with it all the way through, we understand it, know and love it, but now we're seeing SharePoint people come into our space. We're seeing Visual Studio developers come into our space. We're seeing people that develop Microsoft Office developers, Windows developers. All these people were I never interacted with before are all sitting next to me in these Power Platform sessions. So wow. I think Microsoft has got it right and are going to do very well. And there was actually a Gartner quadrant that. They've already placed Microsoft up in the right quadrant.
We lost you just for a second, but okay, I think we're back.
Okay. So I'm just saying that, Gartner Group just posted a new quadrant about low-code solutions, and Microsoft is already up in that right-hand corner with the Power Platform.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about, the Power Platform is made up of Power BI, Power Apps, and was it Flow?
Yes.
Okay. And just recently, let me make sure I got my face up there and your name, so I don't want to confuse anybody. So let's talk about, they talked about it from a citizen developer standpoint as they kind of roll out the platform with the BI and the apps and the flow. But then just recently at a couple of conferences, I think it was maybe Microsoft Inspire, they roll out and they started talking about AI, like citizen AI, and yes, being able to make AI accessible not to just the propeller heads, but this platform now does similar to what it did for citizen developers. Now it's going to do for like citizen data scientists. Is that what you're seeing there?
Well, and from a marketing perspective, it sounds great, citizen developer. But I work on a lot of enterprise projects, so the citizen developer may be building their little app for managing their library books or something. But I think once you get into sort of the enterprise, you're still going to have your architects, you're still going to have your BAs, you're still going to have your developers working on this. It's just going to be easier to work on it. So there is a component of the citizen developer. And what they've done on the AI side, they have AI for marketing, AI for sales, AI for customer service. So they bundled a lot of AI capabilities in these modules. So people can just go in and configure the sort of ready-made AI formulas that they've put together for you. But if you're still going to do some hardcore AI development, you're still going to need the guy with the propeller on his hat.
Well, what about just the ability to use this platform, but to integrate all the different pieces of Dynamics 365, the data coming from these different apps? How has it opened up Microsoft CRM data and the abilities of some of the other pieces of the Dynamics 365 puzzle? How has this platform opened that up for people to leverage and create their own apps that take advantage of this data that's spread throughout the Microsoft ecosystem?
That's the common data service. And that's the old XRM development tool that we used to have. So the common data service is going to be the common tool runs across all these D365 properties, as well the Power Platform. So if someone develops a Power Platform app, that's an Office development team, they'll be able to go back and link that because the common data service will be able to link it back into Dynamics. And there's one other component of the Power Platform that you didn't mention, and it's brand new. And as they took the portal section out of Dynamics, and now we have Power Apps portals. So people can now do sort of customer-facing applications outside their business through websites back into Dynamics. So some pretty exciting components are being put together on this. And I think this is the excitement at Microsoft. There's some real excitement out there. Like when we were at Inspire in Las Vegas a few weeks ago, which is the partner conference, you could really feel it in the air. I mean, people were excited. It's where we want to be. And I've never seen the market so exceptionally, I guess I'll call it hot. As a dynamic CRM guy, I went through the old world where, you talk to somebody, they want you to demo the software and have 1,000 questions about it. Mm-hmm. I haven't demoed a software for a new client in maybe 2 years. It's just, they're buying it, right? They're going online, looking at the demos, talking to people or whatever, and people are buying this software. And not only just buying this software, they're putting it into their enterprise applications and building on it, right? Like I've never seen before.
So so that's interesting. So you're talking about that both from a customer perspective, the excitement, and a partner perspective, the excitement?
Absolutely. All the business application partners that have been in this space for a while, they're almost sold out when I talk to them. Like they have just that amount of work coming at them. And now when we've got a story to go talk to customers about. So now, I'm going to say, I'm guessing here, but maybe 75% of people that have deployed CRM are using it for sales, right? And maybe customer service. Well, now we got Dynamics marketing. I can talk to you about that. I can talk to you about field service. I can talk to you about customer service. I can talk to you about AI. I can talk to you about Power BI. I can talk to you about Power Applications. I mean, the conversation that we can have with our customers is just expanded tenfold, which is, tenfold the opportunity.
So talk a little bit about, and I don't know what the excitement level is when it comes to the ability to integrate Adobe into things, because Adobe and Microsoft have this big partnership. And did I lose you, Rick? Are you?
Okay. You lost me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. I lost you for a minute.
Okay, I think we're good. I don't know what's going on here, but I was curious.
This is a beta product, right?
That's right. I was curious to get your take on what's going on in terms of excitement or interest when it comes to the partnership that Microsoft has with Adobe. Is that something that people are excited about? Is there more apprehension? What is it from the partner ecosystem, that relationship?
That's a good question, because the Microsoft partner ecosystem is a very technical ecosystem. We've had some leaders in the marketplace like Atlanta-based Click Dimensions, which is kind of the leader in marketing automation for Dynamics, and they have a huge install base, very, very good product. But Microsoft's got their own product called Dynamics Marketing that they're developing in Europe, and we're seeing that come online. Well, the conversation with Adobe, again, kind of opens it up to a place we've never been before, Like these Microsoft partners that I deal with all the time, most of them have never had a practice in this area. So it's not a real threat to them. They've sold them maybe Click Dimensions before, but now they get into an enterprise marketing situation. That relationship expands the install base for one thing. All these big customers using the Adobe suite are going to say, well, if it's going to be integrated to Microsoft, I'm going Dynamics. That's going to expand that business. And at the same time, our enterprise type customers that would be a fit for Adobe are going to say, you know what? Now I've got a real enterprise weight set of marketing tools that we can integrate to. So we love the announcement.
So that's on the top end, but you did mention Click Dimensions, and you also mentioned the Microsoft Marketing Automation Project. How do those two fit? Are they competitive at the kind of the SMB, the mid-market?
Yeah, so the Microsoft Marketing product, I think it's probably the second version coming through right now. I don't think it's as mature as the Click Dimension product. The Click Dimension's been in the market for probably a good 8 years now. So they've got the install base, they've got the functionality. I think that really helps small to mid-market, right? So I think a lot of that small mid-market's going to stick with that. Then as we start to grow out and require more functionality, they'll get into the Dynamics marketing. And once we get into that enterprise where you're managing media buys and all that type of thing, you're managing design studios, I think that's when you move into the Adobe. But we're going to have a solution that sort of covers the gambit. We do have a solution now that covers the gambit.
I love when you say we. This guy is not actually working with Microsoft, but
my buddy who's a partner says, hey Rick, you're the biggest Microsoft cheerleader I ever met. I'm going, really? Thank you. It's that bread and butter thing.
That's right. Talk about LinkedIn. I mean, it feels like, they bought LinkedIn a couple of years back for $26 billion. Lots of people are like, oh, this is a great move, particularly from a CRM perspective. There's this data-rich environment. It doesn't have the same type of tool set that the Microsoft, Dynamics 365 tools have, the CRM. But it doesn't seem like it's come together like people had anticipated or expected. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think so I do some work with the LinkedIn team, actually. We have a program coming, a roadshow coming up in Canada called Collaborate Canada. We're going to have, a day-long D365 sort of love-in in Vancouver and Calgary Vancouver, Toronto, and Ottawa this year. And the team from LinkedIn works with me on some presentations we're doing in Toronto. So I talk to them about a lot about what they're doing. And there's always that, issue. We thought, okay, Microsoft bought LinkedIn. That means we're going to be able to pull all our LinkedIn data into our Microsoft CRM and vice versa. Well, I think the licensing on LinkedIn kind of stopped that, and people didn't want to share that data, and that's fine. But and another interesting thing is they're moving on as their own company still today, right? So they run separately from Microsoft. They do their own thing. And, they're working with Salesforce.com and Microsoft at the same time saying, how do we do more integration to your platform? I think in the long term, the Microsoft relationship will win out in some ways, but they're doing work on both sides. But we're seeing some interesting, you talk about AI work. I was seeing some interesting AI stuff they're putting together to be able to evaluate your opportunities in your pipeline. So they can use AI tools and LinkedIn to say, okay, how are you connected to your pipeline? And historically, if you won the deal, how were you connected? And if you lost the deal, how you were connected? And they can start using AI to better understand, can I actually, what am I going to win in here and how I'm connected? So when I looked at this technology, I said, what I'd really like to see? Tell me how my competitors are connected to my opportunities, right? Which ones do I think I'm winning, but I'm not? So I think that integration on LinkedIn from that association is very, very powerful. Some other things we're seeing too is, we're seeing where I can update my CRM connections through LinkedIn. And, I heard talk in the future, if you have that integrated together and that person changed, then you're going to be notified. So I think there's some really cool things around that. And I've become a big Sales Navigator user. I know it's an add-on product. It's an extra $1,000 a year to use it or whatever. But I got to tell you, if you're in sales and you're looking for opportunities and you're following up on people, there's never been a better product.
Yeah, that was my issue. There's Sales Navigator hanging out there, and I think that came about when they bought Connected way back in the day.
Yes.
But then you've got this full features rich suite of CRM, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator still hanging around. It just seems to me like, do you see a future where there is no Sales Navigator because it kind of gets integrated or fully engulfed by Dynamics CRM?
Maybe it becomes part of the Power Platform, right? So yes, and right now they're completely separate code bases, right? So, I think in the future we're going to see things look better, look closer, work better, and the reporting tools will be able to, report on both sides. Hopefully, I don't have any, visions of what's going to happen on the LinkedIn. It's more of what I'm hoping to see.
Funny thing though, where is LinkedIn going to be moving to? Hosted Azure, I think.
I'm sure. Well, who knows where they are now? They're probably AWS or Google, so I'm sure they're.
It announced that it's moving to Azure, so
yeah, it's moving over.
Yeah, it kind of makes.
They may be running as a separate company, but you're not running on the competitor software.
Why would you when Azure is there? I mean, it is definitely a platform. All right, so one of the things we did want to touch on that Microsoft Team is something that really seems to be picking up a lot of steam. Didn't even mean to rhyme that, but apparently it just came out like that. But one of the things that's going on with Microsoft Teams is that it's basically going to be taken over for Skype for Business, and it's starting to already be kind of they're starting to move it out. I think they said by September 2021 you're going to have to be completely off of it, but as of September 1st, it seems like they're kind of stopping selling Skype for Business client and pushing everybody to Microsoft Team. What do you think of that?
I think it's great. I think, of course, I think it's great because I'm a Microsoft guy, but no, it's good. So Teams is a very nice platform. I use it on a daily basis, great collaboration. And I kind of moved through the whole group. So I was on the Link product at one time. Then, the Skype for Business, and now I'm on this product, Teams. Teams is stronger. I think it's on a better, more stable technology, a little bit friendlier for people to use. And, when we use Skype for Business in the past, once we get into big groups online, you get a lot of people dropping on, dropping off, and depending on the bandwidth in the area you're in. And Teams, they seem to solve a lot of that too. And Teams has got a better integration. It's kind of taking over for their collaboration tool, which is Yammer. And I haven't seen too much on what's going to the future of Yammer, but that for sure is probably going to end up in that Teams.
What is interesting to me, and we kind of tossed this out when we talked last week. I mean, Teams is a full collaborative tool. It does more than what Skype for Business did. But here we are, we're actually having this conversation on the public Skype, and we're doing things like LinkedIn Live. Do you see, once kind of this transition picks up steam, do you see LinkedIn becoming a bigger part or a bigger integration between Microsoft Team and LinkedIn for these kinds of things?
Well, that's a good question, because they keep telling us that we're going to see events come back in LinkedIn. So it'll be interesting to see if there's an integration between what they're doing with the event tool and Teams. Wouldn't that be kind of cool that if it ran on Teams? That would be cool for me.
The more Microsoft, the merrier.
Yes. And joking, I think the more they do together, because Teams, they're already saying Teams is the #1 collaboration tool in the world because it rides along with Office 365. So you get Office 365, you get Teams. So as long as you're on that platform, you're going to have Teams. So I think we're going to see that become, very common for that world.
Makes sense. I mean, it's part of, I think the 365, the platform it's become, and now that they are really moving to integrate it into pretty much all aspects of their business, it makes sense. So what's the biggest driver right now of interest or momentum in your world when it comes to CRM particularly?
The biggest driver today, and I think it's the biggest driver, but sometimes we don't notice it, is data. Okay. Data everywhere, and I can't get a report. So I got data in accounting, I got data in my CRM, I got data in my manufacturing. And I'm talking to someone right now who's got, they're monitoring the data in their transport fleet and they want to bring it in, right? So I've got data everywhere, but in order for me to understand my business and to really use these AI tools in the future, I got to get my data into one place and I got to get that data clean. And I think that's one of the big factors that's driving this digital transformation growth. The other big factor is the customer. Customers want more self-service today. They want to chat. So when I'm teaching, CRM planning, we talk a lot about that. Where does the CRM system start? And I tell people it starts out at the chat, because when we talk to buyers today, it's actually in our conversations when we do it in a group in a session. Number one is chat, especially when we start talking to anybody who's a millennial. So let's say anybody under 35 years old, and you ask them how they want to engage in a B2B purchase, they want to chat first, right? So technology all the way out from chat right back to that self-service portal after I'm reordering stuff. So we're seeing customers saying, that's the way we want to connect. And also, I got one other thing. Last year at CRM Evolution, when I taught the CRM planning session, I had two customers in the room. One was a dairy manufacturer, and the other one was a welding machine manufacturer.
Wow.
And they came in and said, okay, we're hooking everything to the Azure cloud. Well, tell me more. The guy from the welding machine company said, we want to be able to monitor all welding machines in the field. That's got to connect back to the Azure cloud, connecting back to my service people, connecting back to my sales people. So that's a demand from their customer. And even the dairy manufacturer agreed with him. He says, yeah, we're not doing it because we want to do it. We're doing it because our customers are saying, if this machine's going to break down next week, I need to know, because it's $25,000 an hour when it's not running, right? So I think the customers are driving it, saying we want a different level of service, and people are seeing this as how can I win? How can I be more competitive? I've got to do it through technology. So it's, again, getting my data in one spot so I can work with it.
So I'm going to pose you this question, because I'm just finishing up my CRM magazine column. Chris Cronus, I'm sure I'm going to get it to you. Believe me, it's coming. But I do some partnering with a site called smallbusinesstrends.com, and we put out a 1-question survey, and it was, and their audiences, SMBs, not getting into the enterprise, not so much, but really basic meat and potato SMBs. And one of the things we asked, or the one question we asked, was, what is your biggest challenge with using CRM? And we gave them a list of options. From your smile, you probably already know what was the number one, but there was two that stood apart from the rest. The number one answer was, it's too difficult putting data into the system, maintaining data, and trying to find data. That was absolutely number one challenge. And then the second challenge, that they, and there's like 500 folks that did this. The second challenge was, they don't understand what benefit CRM brings to their business. So when you have your Microsoft hat on, which I don't think you actually will ever take it off, but with your dynamic CRM hat on, how would you answer those challenges? Data, too hard to, too much time, too difficult to put it in, maintain it, find it. And the one that really still in 2019 that really interested me is I don't know how CRM benefits my business.
Okay, so I run into this question all the time. Okay, the only answer, again, is the data. If you're a business owner, that data is worth, if you're a small business owner, that data is worth tens of thousands of dollars to you, right? If you're a medium-sized business owner, it's worth hundreds of thousands. If your business is a little bigger, that data is worth millions to you. So what do you mean that data is worth money? Well, if I want to capture my customer, if I want to self-service my customer, if I want to understand my customer's business, it's got to be data. Even if I go to a third-party company and bring in data, I need the data. And when I'm working with salespeople, I've done that's been my career. My company's full contact selling. I look at it this way, guys. You can remember who you've got to follow up with on the short-term sales. So something's going to close over the next 90 days. You probably got it figured out. But the ones that take longer, 30, 60, 90, 120, 3 years to close, if you don't have that in CRM, you will forget about it, right? You won't follow up with it. And we can prove that by, looking at the email of a sales rep a year back and saying, who were you talking to then that you're not talking to now? And did they go and buy? Or are they still in that buying cycle? And you know what? If you would have put them in the CRM, you'd still be in the selling cycle with them. So once they start to understand that I'm good at short-term and short-term memory, but I need CRM to really keep me in the game for the longer term.
All right. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Let's say they do understand that, but it's still difficult for them, or they feel the perception is still there that I just don't want to spend all my time putting in data. I want to sit in front of a computer and update it. I don't want to have to try to figure out where it is or try to figure out the little nugget of information that might help me close a deal. What do you say to those guys?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it. I usually get rid of those guys, but if we can't get rid of those guys and we got to keep them, they have to understand they're keeping the data somewhere. So I did a project 2 years ago, East Coast of Canada, probably about 20 sales reps selling technology. We customized the whole system for them, and it was all pull downs. They could go down and add an opportunity, just pull downs, click, 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 selections. The companies were in there, select what company. It would take them no longer than, I would say, maybe a minute and a half or 2 minutes to complete an opportunity. So the sales rep says to me, I'm not giving you that data. I says, what do you mean you're not giving me that data? He says, you don't need it. I said, I don't need it. I'm just here to help. I'll go talk to your VP of sales. He needs it, right? That's why they don't, they only want to give you what, and I'm not saying all sales reps like this, but there's a lot of that still out there. You're on a need to know basis on what's my pipeline, because I really don't want you to know how I'm performing.
But isn't it with AI that we talked about throughout this? If AI allows them to actually start feeling like they're getting a benefit, let's say the AI kind of helps them find the insight, because hopefully it'll pop up the insight and say, hey, you should talk to this person right now, because if you do it right now at this stage of the cycle, you got like an 80% chance of closing or something like that, which that AI helps with. But we also know that there are, there's integrations, and there's more and more ways that this data is getting into the system without them having to type. But so isn't it maybe just letting them know that, hey, it's not just about putting data in at this point. The data is finding its way in, but in addition to that,
how's that data related to other data?
Yeah, and how does that insight, instead of you having to look for it, now it's popping up, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to use the system now. it seems like there's still a large group of people who feel like CRM has basically been etched in stone for the last 10 to 15 years. And they don't understand that, no, it's actually not just a place that people put data. It's a place where, systems put the data, and then the systems tell you what data you might want to use and how you may want to use it at this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, especially we start talk about LinkedIn Sales Navigator, another product that for Dynamics Inside View, right? So there's these products that can say, let's look at your pipeline, let's look at who you're going after. Here's 20 other companies that fit that profile. Have we talked to them? What have we done with them? All that sort of stuff. So it's hard for me to argue with the person that doesn't want to add data to the system, right? It's because to me it's ridiculous. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. But if they want to learn what they can do with it and understand with it, and that's what companies are investing in now, right? They're saying, okay, we have this data. How does it sort of set up with other data? How does it relate to other data, and what can we do with it? We're in that digital transformation.
I tend to believe that the folks, they want the data, they just don't want to have to work to put it in and maintain it.
That's a different issue.
So if they are open to the fact that, hey, you don't even have to do much of that, or at least as much of that as you had, maybe those are the folks that Rick will want to talk to.
Absolutely. And we can do stuff like I use Dragon Speak. I don't know if you ever used it, but I can type 80 words a minute with Dragon Speak, and I can, pick up my keyboard and type at about 25 words per minute. So there's voice, and the voice stuff's getting better all the time. So if you've got to add data to a system, add notes to a system, you can do it over a phone, you can do it over a PC. There's tools that can help you.
Yeah, and sooner rather than later, because I'm seeing it out. Just generally speaking, in the CRM industry, you're starting to see the whole idea of conversational CRM come to life, where instead of typing and clicking and swiping, you are talking directly to the system and getting answers or inputting data. But as long as you're able to do so without having to type or sit down and type or click or search, I think as people become aware of systems that are more conversational in nature, that allow you to do more with your voice, they'll start coming to see that this is not the CRM that they probably have been used to and maybe gotten burned by over the years. But it's there and it's coming. Yeah. And I think that's going to, once people realize that, then you're going to see an acceleration in adoption that we probably haven't seen before.
And as these millennials get older, like, you got to remember, they grew up on keyboards, whereas in the 90s we didn't grow up on keyboards. We got on the phone and called people, where everything today now to them is chat and whatever. So adding data to a system to them is just a natural thing, and they can do it very quickly. So it's going to become less and less an issue going forward. We're going to age out those ones that are hunting pecking on the keyboard.
And on that note, goodbye to those folks, apparently. Yes. But Rick, this has been fun, man. I've really enjoyed this conversation. What's the one thing that we should be on the lookout for in the short term when it comes to what's happening in the Dynamics 365 CRM world?
We've got an upgrade coming up this fall. I think some of the things that people should look at it. The marketing tool is a big one coming out. They have a new client interface for the web that's really cool. So there's a lot of small innovations happening to a very wide product, right? So is there one thing? I think the CDS, the Common Data Service, opening up Power Apps. And letting that citizen developer or departmental developer put an application together, I think that's really, really a game changer for this product.
Next time we talk, I want you to do your best Steve Ballmer impersonation. Instead of yelling developers, I want you to yell partners.
All right, we'll work on it. I'll go look at some old video.
All right. So once again, Rick McCutcheon, full contact selling, Microsoft Dynamics CRM MVP, and devoted Detroit Lions fan.